Now we are on fourth part. And what is the fourth part here? This is fx is equal to, if I write this is fx is equal to x square minus 9 over x minus 3. So let's figure out the domain here. As you can see, domain in the form of p by q. From here, you can say that x minus 3 cannot be 0. That implies x is not equal to 3. So the domain of this function will be what? All real values, all real numbers except for the element 3, right? So this is what the domain. Now for finding range, as usual, we'll be writing, say, let fx is equal to y. So if I place fx as y, what do we get? Y is equal to x squared minus 9 over x minus 3. Check if we can factorize the numerator as a plus b into a minus b, that is x minus 3 into x plus 3, that divided by x minus 3. So you can cancel this x minus 3. So what do we get y as? We get y is equal to x plus 3. Now just check here, x cannot take a value 3. So as you can see, x cannot take a value 3. That means y, placing x as 3, y cannot take a value placing x as 3, right? 3 plus 3 is what? 6. Y cannot take a value 6. So we'll talk about the range now. So range here is what? A range of this function will take all real values, all real numbers except for the number or the element 6 over here. So it says that this is the range for this. Now we can do the next part here only. That is the E part, right? So in the E part, what do we have? Check again. This is fx as mod of. So if I write fx here as mod x minus 1. Now, as you can see here that x is what? Inside a modulus function. So all values of x is valid. There is no such values of x which can make the function undefined. So here x belongs to R. So we'll say that domain of this function, right, is x, real number. Now check here that on placing any real values of x over here, any values, whether it's a positive, negative, fraction, decimal, fx will always give you a positive value, right? Including 0. So we can figure out from the function only that on placing any real values, negative, positive, decimal, fractions, or we are always getting a fx either 0 or positive. So the range of this, we can straight away write the range we can say in this case should come as what? 0 to infinity, that is 0 included, to positive infinity. Now if I see the next part, that is the fifth part. So what we have here, fx is equal to mod x minus 2 over x minus 2. Now we need to see the denominator only. As you can see, the denominator x minus 2 cannot be 0, right? So therefore x should not be equal to 2. So as far the domain is concerned, we'll say that domain of this function will be all real number, right? It belongs to all real number except for the element 2, right? Now as for the range is concerned, let's figure out the range. Other than 2, if you plug in any value over here, let's say I'll show you. Let's place x as, say, 10. So what you get the numerator as 10 minus 2, that is 8, and that divided by, this is what? 8 again, that is 1. Now if I take x as other than 2, if I take any negative number, say if I take minus 10, so it's going to be minus 10 minus 2 is minus 12, right? This will give you minus 12. But then there is a modulus, so it will come as positive 12 from here and negative 12 from here. So we'll get minus 1. Now let's check for some other values. Let's say if I take f0, so it's going to be positive 2 in the numerator and negative 2 in the denominator. So it comes out again as minus 1. So you'll figure out by placing some other values also, the range will either come as 1 or minus 1. So we'll say that the range in this case is what? Just two element, that is minus 1 and 1. Make sure it's not a interval, right? These are the two elements that will be the range. Range while placing other than -2, other than 2, if you place any values of x, right, you will always get fx as either -1 or 1. We are on the last part here, and what's that function? This is fx is equal to 1 plus 3 times cos 2x. Now check here what we know that first of all, if you talk about the domain, which you know that it is the value of x for which the function is defined, and you know that for cos the domain is all real numbers, right? So x can take any input, x may be decimal fraction, so all real number is true. So we first of all will talk about the domain of this function, and domain belongs to R here. Now let's figure out how to find out range. Now we know that the value of cos x, right, is what? It lies between -1 to 1. It lies between -1 to 1. I'm talking about cos x. Now, if cos x lies between -1 to 1, so therefore cos 2x will also be same, because here the angle will be any values. Yeah, whether it's an x or 2x is going to be this only. So we can say from here that cos 2x, first of all, I'll talk about cos 2x here. So cos 2x will be -1 to 1. But as I proceed with the question, we can see that we need 3 times of this. So we'll be multiplying 3 on both sides. On multiplying 3 with this, it is -3. And this is 3 times cos 2x. And on multiplying 3 with this, it is 3. Now check, we need to add 1 only to get the original function. Adding 1 to this is what? 1 minus 3 is what? -3, -2. And this is 1 plus 3 times cos 2x. And adding 1 to this is what? 4. Now what you can see that I can replace this I can replace with what? Fx. As you can figure out from the question here that I can replace this with fx. Check here. This is fx only. So we can say that now we can say that it is fx, which is this, right? And the value of fx, you can see it varies from -1 to 1. So we'll say that the range in this case will be what? Belongs to -2 to 4 close interval. So this is how we'll do the G part of this question.